So going on to that fits nicely. Do you think minorities code switch for the same reason as the rest of the population?
100%. 100%. Sometimes it's uncomfortable to stand out.
Mm-hmm.
Feel like everybody's watching you for the wrong reasons. Like sometimes you just want to just get on with it and just do what you got to do. It's like I remember one time in school when I was a school kid, I tried to go against the grain. I tried to grow my hair and get my hair plaited. I was so excited, but then I was told, "Oh no, we don't support that kind of hairstyle." And in my head, I'm thinking, I didn't obviously back then I didn't know what code switch was. Oh yeah, your hair must be a free. Oh no, you can't have a skin fade. Oh no, you can't have cane rolls. Oh no, you can't have braids. None of this made any sense to me. Do you know where I'm coming from? So I feel like that was quite a racial thing when they said, "Oh no, you can't have it a certain type of way." Do you know where I'm coming from? But then I was
There's been instances of children not being allowed to go to school and unless they remove the hairstyle.
Yeah, same. I had the same experience with my daughter one time. She'd gone into school and they sent me this long letter, that she's not allowed to have. I can't remember what the word that they used, but she just had she had braids in her hair. And the way I delved in to see the email that I fired back to these people, I said, I could pull the 3 strands together and make a plait, that hair's been plait up.
Yeah.
So just because Kim Kardashian and these other ones have made it fashionable, as young black children, it's a protective hairstyle. Yeah. I thought that to the gap. They never sent me another email again. By the time I finished with them, that was it.
Yeah. Because you're someone that knows your rights. You're someone that knows your rights.
Not everyone does know to do that, but I wasn't having it. She had braids and she had cane rows and because that's it. That's what we do. It wasn't. But you're right. That's another form of racism. You're right.
Yeah. So
even saying that a black boy and a white boy can have needs to have a number one. A number one on someone with afro hair is going to look different to.
Yeah. So it's not taking into account the racial differences and literally just trying to just whitewash everything. So it's again taking out the diversity. What does my hairstyle have to do with anything? It's just the hairstyle. But you can imagine children being actually barred from learning in a learning environment because of what they've got on their head.
Yeah.
It seems like really extreme to me.
What did you do, Perry? Did you argue the toss or did you just conform?
I did. You know what I wanted to do? Yeah, I wanted to have cane rows for my school photo. I've been growing my hair for time. And then once it was long enough to do cane rows, I got gas. I come into school on the first day back at school after the 6-week holidays, and I was looking forward to getting my school photo with my cane rows. And then they said, "No, I'm not allowed my school photo." They said there is no way I'm gonna be allowed to have a school photo with my hair like that. So they said, what we'll do is we will take our own photo with a digital camera. We'll give you the photo, and then you have to take out your hair tomorrow to get your professional school photos done. Wow. So then literally, my school photo, I had a massive afro, And then what happened was, after I don't know how many days or weeks it was, they said, right, if you're gonna have your hair like this, you're gonna have to put your hair in a hairnet. And then I just thought, you know what, this is too much. So I ended up just cutting my hair.
Yeah, so you were almost forced to conform to what, like I would suggest, who defines what is appropriate in terms of a hairstyle and how does a hairstyle impact on your behavior or your learning? It's just a hairstyle.
But Jay, it's like what you were saying a minute ago. You sent them an email and they didn't respond. Like, say, for example, a secondary school's got 1,500 children in it. Yeah, and the school has a policy. And the school says, you're not allowed braids. How many of them parents do you think know their rights?
Yeah,
not enough. There's a very small minority of parents that know their rights enough to be like, look, you can't say that. Boom, X, Y, Z. Tell me something, and they're gonna be like, oh, you know what? Let's not even argue with this one because it's gonna backfire. Yeah. There is so many people that will just conform and just listen. That's why they have the power to say, this is the policy, this is what we want, and this is how you're gonna behave in the school, and this is how you're gonna look.
100%.
Do you understand where I come from?
Yeah, no, you're right. And I think that at the time, what they came back to me with was about, well, they didn't argue the top. They said that the board, that the governors is represented by someone that's black. But if I remember, I went out my way to look and see who the board of governors, and it was a lady. She was black, but she was how can I put it? Like, she had different kind of texture hair. So she wouldn't need that. I can't remember where she was from at the time, but I just remember, and I was like, well, no, it's not that blanket. There's so many different of us. Yes, we're black, but we're all different. We've got different hair types and textures.
And not all skin folk is kinfolk, as the saying goes.
Exactly. So I gave them that argument. They just left it. My daughter wore braids and wore cameras, but rest of her time there, because my argument was valid. I wasn't having it. But you're right. Not everyone knows to do that. I just wasn't having it. I wasn't having it. So I was like, how dare they?
I agree with both of you.
What they called it as well. They called it something. Their hair, but it was only because it was that time when Kim went and got her hair cameroed back, and it was a,
all of a sudden it's more acceptable.
Yeah, I gave it to them. I said, like, just because it's been made fashionable by the likes of, and people that are non-black, and I don't care. Like, if you want cameras, like cameras. I don't care where you're from, but you can't tell me that I can't have them because it's become a fashion accessory. I wasn't having it. So
and I totally agree with you, but I do think, to a certain degree, I think you're both right. I think minorities code switch for the same reason, as anyone else, to fit in. But I do think that there's a more insidious side. I do think that sometimes minorities code switch just to fit in, to blend in. So you get the whole, maybe speaking white or being perceived to be acting white. Which
acting black. It goes both ways
acting black. It does go both ways, because I don't think they call it, is it cultural appropriation? If a white person does something that's come from black culture, but that white person could be living in their authentic selves. It could be it could be that where they've grown up is a lot of black people, and all their friends potentially might be black, their partners. So there are some people where it's a little bit of a conflict. But
some people are just cultured, and that's it. You know? Yeah. And the same way you get the ones that just aren't and don't get it, you get the ones that do, and that is them being themselves.
Yeah.
I grew up in a very white area, and I grew up around the term wigger.
What? Yeah, I've heard that one.
White. It's crazy, because when I used to go visit my cousins and whatnot, all of the white boys around there, they all speak the same. They all spoke the same. But that term was used because it was just like, that's the culture, that's the urban way of speaking. So then when I used to come down here and someone would use that term, I'd be like, where did you get that from? What does that even mean? Like, to be black? Like, all right, cool. You go Oxford or Cambridge. What is that? How the brothers are speaking? No. Where I'm coming from.
So,
like, everybody dresses how they want to be addressed. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
Dress how you want to be.
People. Yeah, exactly that. Like, that's the way I see it. Like, if you want to be perceived in a certain type of way, you behave a certain type of way. Where the code switching comes into play. Do you know where I'm coming from? If you walk into an interview and you really want that interview, you're gonna have a nice firm handshake. You're gonna look the person in their eyes. You're gonna listen when you're spoken to, and you're gonna dress presentable. Do you understand where I'm coming from? Because you want to give off the best first impression. However, if you didn't really care about it, you just be like, well, I'm here.
You come from.
I've had people turn up in what I would deem as not appropriate clothing. I wouldn't say it was professional, because I don't think you have to wear a suit to come and work in a betting shop.
Smart.
But but obviously, if you're wearing something that maybe might not be appropriate for the setting, that comes into play. But
just show anything that shows that you're taking it seriously, and two, that you've made an effort. They can see you've made a valid effort. When you're there, you're taking your time to make sure your hair's done, to make sure you've shaved, to make sure you got a nice ironed shirt, and you got your suit on and whatnot. When you've took the time to make all of them boxes are ticked, that's when they're thinking, you know what, that's someone I can have representing my company. When you've come, you've just rolled out of bed, your hair's all messy, your beard ain't shaved, and you got like a pair of ripped jeans on and a shirt that's got a pair of last night spaghetti on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're gonna be like, I know this person can't deliver when they need to. They don't care if you're putting it on and you're faking it. They don't care. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
No, completely.
But I'm gonna quickly read this example to you before I ask you the next question. But one Black Caribbean lecturer in the southwest of England told researchers, "I drive a nice car, and one member of staff asked me if I was a drug dealer, because how else could I afford it?" And this brought me on to the next question. Is code switching a way of fitting in or a survival tactic? Because just that thing there. So you imagine if that's a common way of thinking, that, you know, a black man with a nice car has to be a drug dealer. So now you think about situations like the police. I cannot talk about code switching without talking about the police. But how many people share that perception? So if you think about all of the stops and searches and how disproportionately black people are stopped more, how many people still think that actually, if you're a black man with a nice car, that you must be a drug dealer, and actually feel comfortable enough to say that? So I had a conversation with my brother who's 20 years old, and I said to him, you know, bro, like, obviously mum sat down with you very early on and had a conversation with you about your rights with the police. And I've spoken to a lot of my friends who have sons, and I've learned that, quite distressingly, that most parents with black children or mixed race children, boys in particular, they have that conversation with their child before they even reach secondary school. So I was asked again, is code switching a way of fitting in or a survival tactic? Because actually a lot of black boys are taught to deal with the police in a particular way. Perry, could you pick up on that, being a young mixed race boy, like your experiences of dealing with the police and how code switching can potentially life or death, especially if he was in a country like America, probably more so, but people are killed, you know, people are killed by the police in this country too. I just have to make that clear. Chris Cabba, you know, just last year, shot by a police. So is code switching a way of fitting in or a survival tactic?
Bit of both. Depends on your environment. Like, it depends, because, like, I think it's just, it's just terminology. It's like you say survival like it's life and death. Survival could be job or no job.
Yes,
survival could be.
You got it. Yeah.
Two narratives. Do you know where I'm coming from? Survival. Do you want to survive the workforce? Do you want to survive in the neighborhood? Do you want to survive? Like, do you know where I'm coming from? Do you want to be? Do you want to fit in or stand out? It's the yin and the yang. You know.
Yeah.
Totally. And that's where I was going with that question, because it's not just literally life or death, but it's a situation of getting that job or not getting that job, or getting that promotion or not getting that promotion. Or like you said, Jay, with your early experiences, knowing that you're more than equipped to do the job, and they're giving you that job to do, and they know that you can do the job, but still not giving you that title. And I read something recently about, did you see the stories last week about the female surgeons who they said, I think, so many of them were being actually sexually abused in the theatre. So while they're in saving lives, you've got these extremely disturbed male surgeons doing things like rubbing their brows on their breasts, like the things that women have to put up with. When you think about the sexist jokes, the racist jokes, you know, it's only a joke, the things that people often get away with in jest. A lot of discrimination is not simply you just saying, I think you're this and you're that. It's actually a bit more underhand. So people might say things that they're not comfortable enough to say in a joke. So it's little things like that, feeling like you're making you feel uncomfortable, and maybe you feeling pressure to laugh along with the joke, even though the joke's on you to a certain degree. So guys, what do you think the dangers and the cons of code switching? Because we've looked at what the pros are, and there are some very good reasons to code switch. But do you think there are any dangers or any negatives to code switching?
Well, if you're in so like, for example, you could be in the wrong area at the wrong time, and there could be other people in that area at the same time you're there. And they're like, who are you? You could get G checked instantly in your mind, that you're thinking, right, do I code switch or do I just like just go with it? That's survival. That's real survival, life and death. I said, nah, we talk about that. I ain't on road like that. I ain't a GM. Do you know where I'm coming from? Sometimes that really is survival, because if you don't code switch, you don't
say the right thing, there's a difference.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Next thing you know, there could be a real bad situation. 100%. Conscious code switching. You're consciously code switching, but not in terms to benefit life. You know what I'm saying? Like,
That's what same thing. And I pretty much I agree with that completely. 100%. I think that the imposed side of code switching, when you're forced to do it, so you're aware, but now you're forced to do it in order to fit in or appear equal to another. That's the side of it. I wouldn't say dangerous. I'd say it's the negative.
Or code switching just to get equal treatment.
Yes.
Imagine having to code switch just to get equal treatment.
It is, isn't it? Because it kind of merges into other areas. But yeah, I agree completely with what you said.
From a therapist.
What about let me give you an example where it can be a positive and a negative in the same action, yeah? Because what you need to understand is, yeah, you might have to code switch in a scenario like that to get out of it alive, yeah?
Yes.
But then when you go back to your block now, you're considered a pussy. You're considered, like, what is that what you did?
Like yeah.
Well, next thing you know, you get outcasted. You're still alive, but you ain't living good no more. It's the same in the workforce. That might happen, yeah. And then you go back to your friends, yeah, and they're like, what you did that to get that? You're moving like one of them white brothers, like moving like some coconut. I'm coming from. So either way you look at it, yeah, like it can be a negative or a positive. It's all about your mindset, your individual mindset, and how you want to look at it. All right, cool. So I could be considered a bounty, but at least I'll get the promotion, and at least I'll have more income to provide for my family in a better way. It's hard to make that,
to strike that balance, isn't it?
When you come back here, you could potentially get penalized by your own people. But then it comes down to your psychological and mental strength, whether or not you can be like, yeah, but look what I gained from it. But some people ain't strong enough to stand up for themselves and say that. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
And people do get outcasted within the community. So like you said, you know, being called a bounty or a sellout, or so having all of the success that might come with the code switching and the job or whatever it is, but actually being totally not valued by a whole community of people. But I think from a therapist perspective, I think a big danger of code switching, whether it's conscious or unconscious, is if you're doing it too much. So if you feel forced to code switch a lot, so if you feel pressure to code switch, if you're someone that's like a people pleaser or you have low self-esteem, code switching might be the only way that you feel like you can make friends. So potentially you might be putting forward a version of yourself and losing the real version of yourself in the process, because we all have a true and false self. And that's the first thing I need to state. We all have a true and false self. So we're not our true self all the time. So like I said, you wouldn't go to work and high five your manager and stuff like that. So there's a certain way that we do present in order to get along. But when it becomes problematic is when that false self takes over the true self. And I think it can be similar with code switching. So if you're, you know, maybe like you say, living in an all white area, it might be something that you've assumed as part of your character, just not avoiding all kind of diversity, dress in a certain way, or avoid dressing a certain way, just to not be seen as black. So you have us black women, a lot of black women that relax their hair. So I'm going back to more natural things, but feeling pressure to like have straight hair. It's all of those types of things. I think there are some positives to code switching, but there are certainly some dangers. And I think a lot of people that report doing code switching, whether conscious or unconscious, even if you're doing it consciously, it can be like mental gymnastics and can be quite tiring to have to constantly be adapting yourself. And a lot of people get burnout. So guys, what do you think can be done to reduce the need to code switch in society, in the workplace, everywhere? What do you think would help?
Do you know what?
Listen, I enjoy code switching.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I'll be so real. Listen, I'll be so real after this podcast today. I'm being teaching dynamic. It. Everybody that needs to know, I'm teaching all of them, all my young people, right? So what code switching is it? I'm going to break it down to them. I'm going to be like, listen, in school environment, this is how you behave. Because I teach a lot of them, how to play the game of life, innit? In terms of how you communicate with different types of people. Because a lot of these young people, they don't know. I said, would you communicate with me like that? No. Well, why is it acceptable to communicate with a teacher like that? How's your teacher going to perceive you if that's how you communicate with them? Next thing you know, if I can then tell them, right, listen, this is when you code switch. This is how you do it. They will become more educated. It's a skill to be able to do that. To teach them, listen, you can teach them. It's not something that will be accredited, but it's something that can benefit them. It's something that can help them excel in life.
Exactly.
So therefore, I feel knowing themselves. Not something you should say, oh yeah, we should do it less. We should stop it from ever having to be done again. We should be encouraging it. Because not every people are going to stay stuck in their ways. I'm not going to do that. I want to stay this person I am forever. People are going to be and other people ain't going to be educated enough to know how to change. Do you understand where I'm coming from? So I feel like it just divides us. It's just categorizing us. Like you either going to, what part of the hierarchy are you going to fit on? Therefore, I feel if you're going to be at the top or anywhere near the top, you need to be able to communicate on every single level. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, that's right. Listen, just Perry has said it to a T. When I got to this, I was like, why do we need to change it? Why do we need to reduce the level of it? Like this systemic level, if you're going to look at it, like this platform alone is a part of the systemic, and it's raising awareness. And I think that's the key. Just raising awareness of it, because you can really use it to your advantage, and you can really obtain value through it. So I wouldn't even think of, I can't think of how to reduce it, but I wouldn't see why we would need to. I think there's too much value in it.
I like to put forward two sides, because the more this podcast has even gone on, I'm realizing more of the benefits of code switching. But like Perry said, if using it like a skill. But I think on an individual level, I think people need to explore their own biases a bit more, because I don't know, I think it was last year sometime we had that first Black Chancellor, and I heard him speak, and he opened his mouth, and obviously he's very well spoken. He went to a very good school. And straight away, I was with my best friend at the time, and I said, why does he sound white? And she said to me, Liliana. And I couldn't even actually believe that it came out of my mouth. She was like, this man should be celebrated. He's a Black man that's probably gone through all of this discrimination, navigated a very white education system. Got to this position of power, the first Black Chancellor, and the first thing you can say is he sounds white. So I actually had to look at myself and be like, where did that come from? And I think a lot of it is what we hear at home from when we're young. The person that speaks a certain way, they may be perceived to be acting white, or like you say, Perry, a bounty, or any of those things. But I definitely think exploring biases, but also I think a lot of people, when they go to things like interviews, they are more concerned with whether the company likes them enough to give them the job. I think we need to be more aware of interviewing almost the company and looking at how much diversity exists. Like if there's representation at all levels, like I would never work for an organization where there are not people that look like me. I'd feel very uncomfortable working for an organization where there wasn't at least quite a few others that look like me. So it's assessing the values of the company as well. So what are their values? Things like, what else can we do on a systemic level? I'm thinking not just focus on diversity, because I think that word gets thrown around enough. I think focusing on having a more inclusive culture. And really truly celebrating diversity, because diversity is one of the great things in this world. And I think another thing that people can do on an individual level is allyship. I've said it in my other podcast. Just because you may be a white woman, a white man, you may be just anyone, but you hear discrimination against someone else, to step up and be like, that's not okay. Because I think a lot of the time why people don't speak up is because they don't think anything's going to be done about it. So you don't necessarily, you have a part to play. So if you witness discrimination, you have the right to speak up. And I think it's something that should be done a bit more. So allyship, and I think more people should report discrimination, because maybe 20 years ago, things like that weren't taken seriously. But Jay, you will know this very well, and Perry probably also. The Equality Act 2010, it's got all of these protected characteristics, of which things like race, gender, sexual orientation, all of those things are covered. There are laws to protect against discrimination now. The laws are there. So why are we not maybe reporting discrimination? Why are we actually in an environment where we're code switching and maybe letting a racist joke or a sexist joke or a homophobic joke go unchallenged? Because I do think a lot can be gained from simply challenging someone. I've had recently someone say something like "you people," and the first thing I did was I had to clarify. Sorry, what do you mean by "you people"? Because you just grouped me into something. Can you just clarify for me what the "you people" part? Because a lot of the time it goes unchallenged. People say things, and whether you don't feel confident enough or you don't feel like it's your place, people don't speak up. I hear discrimination on a daily basis, and I think next time you go out on the street, just listen to some of the conversations that go on around you. You will hear the amount of discrimination at play. And I do think we have a right to challenge that. And like I say, why would you want to work for a company that doesn't value diversity? Why should they get the benefit of your experience and your skills if they don't value you as a person because of your race or your gender or your sexuality or something like that? If they don't value those things, because I think there's also a lot of, we spoke a little bit about women. So I think women tend to get the sexist jokes. Black people get the racist jokes. Black women probably get the sexist and racist jokes. But things like homophobia, like how many people feel confident enough to come out at work? So how much code switching is going on there? Maybe a gay man laughing along at a joke about something sexual about a woman, knowing that he has no interest in that, but playing along to play it straight, because we looked at intersectionalism in being Black and British, and while some differences are visible, some differences are not visible. So why would you want to add something onto you that's potentially going to add more discrimination? If we're taking white men at the top of the tree, we're actually looking at maybe white straight men, because now if we have a white gay man, he's gone down a little bit in the pecking order. And if you do that with a Black man or a Black woman, or then you add disability on it, you can see that it's going to go down, and discrimination is just going to get worse and worse. So are we creating environments at work where people just feel comfortable to be themselves? So I think there's kind of things that we can look at. But the last question of the podcast, before I literally ask Perry a very important question, is, guys, because me and you spoke about this the other day, Jay, and you made me think about a lot of things. Can you code switch? And I think you guys have touched on it. Can you code switch and still be authentic?
100%.
100%. I love it. 100%.
100%.
I agree with you. Yes.
Listen, like I said, it's a skill. Somebody very minded, and uneducated will not understand what code switching is. Whereas somebody who's educated to a point where they understand the importance of being able to code switch and understand how much of an important skill it is, will get it. They'll be like, yeah, man, I get it. I see you. Whether you're white, brown, black, gay, don't matter. Don't matter what background. If you understand code switching and the importance of it and what you can gain from it, then it is where I'm coming from. We're always going to be discriminated on. Always. That's something that's always going to happen. Yeah. The world's always going to have small-minded people, but the world's always going to have great minds. Do you know where I'm coming from?
Yes, as well. So, balance. We can't all be the same, isn't it? So, like, it just brings me right back to any room I enter, I show up as me. And any code that I'm in doesn't define me as a person. That single, we're dynamic, aren't we? People.
You guys have changed my mind. I'm going to be really honest. You guys have actually changed my mind, because when I first started thinking about it, I thought, if you're code switching, a lot of the time you can't be being authentic. But Perry's mentioned having the different hats, and it made me think about my own life. So growing up, I've said it before, I had two distinct sides of the family. I had a white side and a black side. So that a lot of white relatives, a lot of black relatives. So I think code switching for me is something that I learned very early on, to the point where I didn't even know I'm doing it. So there is a way, and I've started looking at it a bit closer. There is a way that I communicate, or I am, with my white relatives in a way that I am maybe not with my black relatives. So it might just be a choice of slang, or just the things that we talk about. So some things I wouldn't talk about with maybe my white relative. So I wouldn't really have a conversation about racism or something with my white relatives, whereas I might feel comfortable enough to have that conversation with my black relatives. But I think being authentic, like you said, Perry, is the core of you. So how I speak and how I am to build rapport or to fit in doesn't change who I am as a person. It's still me. So whether I'm speaking proper English, or I'm speaking slang, or I've got braids, or I've got a bald head, I'm still the same.
It's still you.
Exactly. What you said just about having a white side of the family and having a black side of the family, and then having to switch like conversation styles, etc., between the two. The reason that with that being a thing is because the kind of conversation you can have with the black side of your family is a completely if the kind of conversation you can have with the black side of your family isn't going to be the same kind of conversation you can have with the white side of your family, because of the difference in topic. Like, what the kind of conversation you can have with the black side is going to be relatable, and it's not going to be relatable with the white side. You can't talk about racial discrimination and racial profiling to white people, because they're not going to get it. They're going to be like, oh, what's that? And you say to them straight up, would you be black? And then instantly they're like, and then they start switching it up. Black people are going to understand. Whereas you can come now and talk on the white topics with the white people, and they're gonna be like, oh yeah, da, 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 da. You're not gonna talk about with the black side fam. You're gonna be like, oh, why do we care? Do you know where I'm coming from? It's but then you being between that makes you the one with the most power, the one with the most education, because you're on both sides of the fence.
Yeah.
You can mingle with both sides, whereas they can't mingle amongst each other.
And that is you're spot on. You're spot on with that, because it's often commented to me by certain black people how comfortable I am around white people. And I actually, it's two different things. I've been to 2 funerals this week. So one was a very distinctly black funeral with the after parties, and one was a very distinct kind of like white environment. And I noticed that the more black people I was around, changed the way I spoke. And I think it's because I was doing this topic and I was describing I was talking about, my friend was there and I was talking about her, and I was trying to explain to the person on the phone that it was my friend's, the father of my friend's child that passed away. And I very nearly, and she gave me a look as if to say, don't say it. I very nearly described her as a baby mother.
Okay.
Now, I don't tend to use that word. Only when I'm speaking to black people do I use that term. And she said, do not do it. Do not call me a baby mother. I'm the mother of his child. And I thought, wow, how many times do I do that?
Yeah.
How many times do I change?
Baby mother.
You know, she gave me the look as if to say like, oh, hell, no, you will not describe me as a baby mother, darling. Because some people do find it very offensive. Some people don't. And some people do. And it was the look that she gave me. And I actually thought to myself, where did that come from? Because I wouldn't normally say that. And it's just being aware that the interactions that you have are different. And I often feel a lot more uncomfortable in all black environments, actually, interestingly.
Yeah.
I actually feel more comfortable. So if there's a mix, I'm the most comfortable. So let me just get that clear. If there's a mix of people, I'm at my most comfort. But I tend to find, I don't know, maybe it's because of my past experiences of being at school and being told, well, you're not fully black and you're not quite black enough. So maybe that in some ways has made me sometimes doubt my blackness. Even though I identify as a black woman, I'm black, you know, to me. But sometimes when I'm surrounded by a lot of black people, I wonder if I'm black enough. So it's quite interesting that the kind of conflict
was it mostly black people that would say that to you?
Yeah. It was mostly black people would say that would say that to me, and it's amazing that I thought that I'd left that behind a long time ago, but actually because I was doing this podcast, I suddenly was paying more attention.
Awareness.
Yeah, I became, and I'm like, no, we need to look at that and work through that still. So that's something I will take to my therapist and have a look at that, because I love black people. I love being black. I wouldn't, you know, if I could come back again, I'd still want to be a black woman. But it's just interesting that when the environment is a lot of black people, I suddenly don't feel as comfortable with the way that I present. I wonder if I should use different words and if I sound maybe a little bit too white. So yeah, I think you guys have convinced me that actually you can code switch and be authentic. And I think if you use it like a skill,
the way you gotta look at it, is your people know who you are, innit? Your people, your true people know who you really are. Anybody that's telling you you're fake, they don't really know you and they don't deserve to know you. They don't deserve to be within your vicinity. They know that in order to do the work that you do, you got to switch it up. You got to talk to different people a different type of way. They know that that's what's necessary. If they're trying to call you fake, then they don't deserve your friendship. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
No, I agree with you, Perry. And first and foremost, you know you.
Yeah.
You know you. Do you understand what I'm saying? You are who you are. So
if you think that you code switching is you not being authentic, then the person telling you that you're not authentic is the one that's fake.
Yeah. And I think it should be based on what you think is appropriate. No one doesn't have the right to tell you.
Anybody who understands what code switching is and says that it's not a relevant skill to have, they're being fake to themselves, or they're just depriving themselves of something.
They're selling themselves short, aren't they? They're selling themselves short, actually. Because we all code switch. And I think the more we embrace it and get better at doing it in the right situations, I think it can help us do a lot of things. But I think the only real danger with code switching is, I would suggest, is if you feel pressure to do it. So I think it should always be based on what you think is appropriate. Don't allow anyone else to tell you what is appropriate for you. So I do suggest that people like people pleasers and low self-esteem, that would be a problem. But it would be irresponsible while I have you here, Perry, not to ask you this question, because I've had a lot of females come on my podcast and I try to bring a lot of male mental health into the spotlight, but I do often feel uncomfortable speaking on situations regarding men. So just for a couple of minutes, if you could just, as a young male that's out here in 2023, just help us older ladies and us older people understand that some of the...
She's not talking about me, that older lady just means. She's talking about herself, clearly.
That told me, yeah. Oh my gosh, look, I've got red. See, this is, you're telling it like it is. This is what I'm saying about my friends. They don't pull their punches. But,
so funny.
You know, what do you think, in your opinion, are some of the issues that young men in particular are struggling with in terms of mental health?
What, like my age group or younger?
Your age group, younger. Just what are the things that men are struggling with? Because I think as a woman that knows a lot of younger women, I tend to have these conversations and they kind of very open and tell me the things that they're struggling with. But I think with men in particular, they're a bit more closed off when it comes to talking about things about mental health.
Yeah, there's a taboo around it. And you sound pretty grounded, Perry, so maybe answer it from like someone else's perspective, what you're seeing with the young people.
Yeah, what you're seeing. Any common themes?
A lot of young people that I work with are fearful of gangs, are fearful of people on the streets, are fearful of getting G-checked, are fearful of going to the wrong area, are fearful of not having a weapon on them if they go to the wrong area or if they're in their own area. They're fearful of carrying a weapon in case they use it. And I say to some of them, if you didn't have the weapon, what would you do? I would run. Would you get away? Well, yeah, I would get away. Okay, so why do you carry the weapon?
Yeah, run.
So I don't have to. So when you go jail, you won't have to run because you're going to run around nobody thinks like that. I said, yeah, that's why so many young people are going to prison. And then like, yeah, but then what if I'm forever running? At least you're forever alive and forever free then, isn't it? You know where I'm coming from? But it's just like, a lot of them are stuck in a state of mind. If I run, I'm a pussy. If I run, I'm if I run, I'm that. But then I feel like it's a stigma of today's young people, because behind closed doors, they will say that they've got mad PTSD, they've got social anxiety, they don't like to be in crowded places. Young people, I'm talking about young people that are not on road, they take photos like this. They don't want their face seen.
Yeah.
They don't want their picture, they don't want their faces on social media. Yeah. And you got other guys, yeah, they're doing music videos like this. See their face. Yeah, no, they got a full mask on.
Well,
see their face.
Yeah.
And it's just like, how are you trying to blow, but nobody knows who you are? Yeah. It's just like, it makes no sense. Oh, yeah, I can't show my face because I've got too many ops. Okay, so you've got yourself ops. Can't even show your face. I've done events here, and I've got guys that have got to wear a full face mask, like so they're just their eyes. I'm like, yo, why you gotta be looking like that? It's like, it's either I look like this or I don't come because I've got ops in this area. And if they see me, it's peak for everybody
it's on
here.
Site, isn't it? Yeah.
Like, it's a sense of paranoia. Sometimes that paranoia gets the better of them when they're thinking, you know what, let me just go ham. And then they just go do a madness. Or they take their mental health issues to a different area and they end up developing the same problems in a different area. It's all about mindset. One thing I know about this work with young people, mental health, all of that, it's all about mindset. It's all about changing their mindset and helping them develop a more positive state of mind, positive mental health. Because what COVID did to young people's mental health is mad.
Yeah. I think they suffered the most. I think young people suffered the most. They really did suffer the most, the lack of social connections.
I had teachers said to me, oh yeah, so-and-so, he's really this, he's really that, he's so immature, he's like, he doesn't listen, I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm sitting down with this guy to start a mentoring session, So I was like, all right, cool. So what do you think the teachers have said about you, Because at the end of the day, I like to make my own opinion on the person, not by what the teachers have said. Because I know that what the teachers say and what I think is going to be completely different.
Yeah.
So then he goes, I know exactly what they said. I'm like, God, is that they said I'm immature, innit? I'm like, why do you think they said that? And he goes, Goes, to be honest, he goes, I don't even care. I was like, all right, go on. He's like, you know what? He goes, you seem all right, and everyone talks highly of you, innit? He goes, so I'll tell you, innit? He goes, when I was in primary school, he goes, when you was in primary school, yeah, he goes, when you was in year 6, did you sit at the back of assembly on a chair? I was like, oh, you taking it back? I was like, yeah, I did. He was like, he goes, you felt big, didn't you? You felt like, yeah, we're the oldest. And I was like, yeah, all right, cool, yeah, I can, yeah, go on. And he goes, well, I didn't get to do that. I was like, what do you mean? He goes, when I was in school, he goes, I went from year 5 to year 7. So I went from year 5, but then all of a sudden I'm in year 7 with a blazer down to my kneecaps, and all of a sudden I've got to be this mature student now in secondary school. And I'm like, yeah, I get where you're coming from. He goes, the only reason you get where I'm coming from is because you've sat down and you've actually listened to me explain why I'm immature.
Yeah.
He goes, so technically, psychologically and mentally, I'm still in year 5, and I'll be in year 5, whether I'm in year 7 or whether I'm in year 8. I don't care. And I'm like, raw, boy. I said, I swear to God, I wish I got all of that on record, yeah, so I could show them. And they would see. Like, he goes, think they care about light? He goes, they don't care. He goes, and because of the simple fact that they don't care is the reason I behave the way I do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are you going to continue to that way, or are you going to, I don't know, switch it up a bit? He goes, I don't know, man. He goes, year 8's not looking too good. Year 9, maybe year 9. I don't know. Just like, wow. So technically, he was very clued up, but he was just putting on this false facade. You know what I was there? Like, just to, I don't know, like, it's today's young people, I don't know, man. They're very, very confused. They're very emotional. A lot of these young people, they go and commit murders, and then they cry in the dock. And when they go to prison, they're in jail getting therapy, and they're realizing why they behave a certain type of way. What were their childhood traumas? What used to make them have certain emotions? But they realize this when it's too late. So I feel like on us to create these opportunities where we give them the opportunity to be themselves. To do some soul searching, to find out what they want to do with their life, etc. Do you understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah. Jay, how does that feel, hearing a young man explain without fear just the things that young people are struggling with?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with him. And I feel like, especially with the side of it, you know, the ones that go to prison. So the ones that you was talking about before that they're carrying a knife, they don't know why they're going to carry a knife. They would run if someone approached them, but they're carrying a knife, and if you carry one, you're going to use it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the same for everyone, but the likelihood of you using it is high because you've got it. Yeah. And then those are the ones that go to jail and cannot cope. They cannot live with what they've done and all of that. It's the mental health. And you said that, you know, like those are the ones that are in prison getting therapy. A lot of them don't even get therapy. They're just in there doing things that are, you know.
They might get anger management. That's a common course in prison.
Sorry?
A lot of them commit suicide.
Yeah, that's rampant.
One of my boys,
a lot of self-harm as well in prisons.
One of my boys was in jail, and he said that when his boy got shipped out, he said the wing was different because everybody was now fighting for the top spot, and he kind of just took a back. Like, no, I'm not involved. But then he said the guy that took over and started running the wing, was tapped. He said the guy was crazy, caught an M charge, and he was just loose. And one day, all of a sudden, like, Gov's just run up in his cell and he hung himself.
Yeah.
On his letter, it said that he couldn't live with it. He said he was dreaming about the person every day, and they were saying, "Why did you do it?" And he would wake up cold sweats, like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And then they end up like living in this state of mind where it's just them and the person they've killed.
Yeah.
And that sometimes pushes them over the edge.
It's just shocking. But, you know, a lot of the things that can help people navigate knife crime and mental health tend to come after a crisis. So should we be offering these interventions a lot sooner with young people, you know? So I think the stuff with gangs and stuff, you need to be going into primary schools. Secondary schools is too late.
Yeah, one thing I said, but imagine this. Young person come up to me, yo, Pel, you got any work there? I'm like, what are you looking for? He's like, I don't know, man. He goes, you got them, man, construction work. I'm like, bro, come on, man. You're 13 years old. What do you need with construction work? It was that night. He goes, listen, yeah. He goes, I did start doing car washing, and I stayed in the same place, and I was telling people, yeah, bring your cars through, and I washed them. And he goes, I got moved on by the council because they said I didn't have public liability insurance, and I wasn't old enough to get it. He goes, listen, if I go to the block, yeah, he goes, I guarantee you there's a trap in there that's going to put me on, and I can earn some bread. Yeah. And I was just like, yeah, but in this reality, I said, until you can pay taxes and get a national insurance number, you ain't entitled to make no bread. Otherwise, it's child labor, and I'm going to get in trouble. Because employed you's going to. And he's like, see, that's where the system stopped. And I was like, completely.
Yeah, more opportunities for young people. Why are we not encouraging young people to set up their own businesses and be entrepreneurs?
You're not allowed to work until you're 16. However, yeah, if you're in primary school and you got no bread at home, yeah, you can get groomed by a trapper by the age of 9, 10 years old, and you could be earning bread. That makes no sense. Tell me how that makes any sense.
Yeah, the system is flawed. Well, actually, I would suggest that the system is doing exactly what it was designed to do. So I think we need a new system, but to be honest with you, but you know, the chances of that only happens if everybody kind of gets involved. So I am conscious of you guys' time. So I know that it's been quite a long one.
It's been a good conversation, man.
It's been a long one. I'm so grateful because you guys, different demographics, different genders, it brought a different spice to the conversation. Jay, I know that you work with young people on a daily basis. We have these kind of conversations just when we communicate as friends. But Perry, thank you, because you've added something different to the podcast. And, you know, it's the first male voice that's come on and been brave enough. And I hope that, you know, there are other men out there listening that, you know, will probably really resonate with you. And I'm encouraging, you know, male therapists, you know, any male people that would like to be guests, because I do think men need to become more a part of the conversation around mental health. So I think code switching was a good one to introduce you to the podcast, but I do hope that you will come back from time to time and just on particular topics and just, you know,
100%.
keep us updated.
Perry comes on, I want to come on and I want to teach them.
Yes, that's what we'll do. We'll keep you lot as a double.
I said when you come on, I want to come on too, and I want a t-shirt.
Yeah, he's got some really good snapback. You should check out the 21 Up movement on TikTok, and he's got some good stuff on YouTube.
On 21up movement www.21upmovement.com, at 21up movement on all social media platforms. So yeah, man,
Perry's a good rapper.
I'm still running everything on my own. But like the level of traction it's got over the past year, like I've been to Parliament, I've received awards, I've had multiple nominations. When I was checking my stats the other day, 87 people, including parents, including members of authority. I've got young people into conferences with the police discussing youth safety. That's with Metropolitan Police, Essex Police. I've got authorised absences schools to get young people get them their first public speaking opportunities at black tie events, etc. So like, yeah, man,
guys,
it's all about changing.
Yeah, mindset.
22 years old. So you hear so much negative things about young people. He's only 22. You hear all these negative things about young people, and just look here. Change that perception. Look what this young man is doing, not just to help himself, but to help so many other people. And I know because I've worked with Perry behind the scenes, and he has some brilliant young people. And they all look up to him, and he inspires them all and takes time out, and he's very good with them. And guys, please check out all of his social medias. And if there's any people that can help in any way, what kind of ways do you need help? Do you still need help with funding and stuff like that, Perry?
Listen, I'm done with funding. I'm no longer looking for funding because of the simple fact, you know, when you get told no so many times, you think, all right, cool, there's got to be another way. But what I did, is I wrote a magazine. I wrote my own magazine, so it's 22 pages. And yeah, man, that is what I'll use to create revenue and funding to fund my projects. So that will create employment opportunities for young people. It will increase their interpersonal skills. It will give them entrepreneurial skills. It will help with their sales pitch. It will help with their confidence, etc. And it will earn them income. Also, all of the people working for the 21 Up movement, like street teams, like selling the periodicals, it will also give them an opportunity to be a part of the opportunities that we put together. Do you understand where I'm coming from? So they're basically paying for their own opportunities. Do you understand where I'm coming from? So they're getting opportunities at the weekend, coming to events, organising events, getting involved with designing the merch, getting involved with the music programs, the music videos, the creative writing sessions. Sometimes people don't know how to write music. They come to a creative writing session, they're writing their first song, they go in studio for the first time, they're getting their first live performance. Boom, next thing you know, people that don't have no confidence, they've got social anxiety overhanging from COVID. Next thing you know, they're speaking in front of 100 people. Yeah, I started off like this. This is within months. Within months. It's all about changing the state of mind. Do you understand where I'm coming from? And it's powerful.
You're brilliant at doing that. You're powerful.
Yeah. When you see someone not coming out their house, to then all of a sudden speaking and performing in front of live crowds, yeah, amazing. It's amazing. Trust me.
You get a lot out of it. So you do put a lot in, but you also get a lot out of it. And I think it's absolutely brilliant because, like I say, young people do get a bad press, but there are so many young people like Harry out there doing positive things, not just for their own lives, but for the community in which they live, making it a better place. So just any questions for me before we wrap this podcast up? Because it's been brilliant.
It's been good. I don't have any questions.
No questions. I just think it's been really good, and you guys have changed my mind. Oh, don't worry. Thank you. You're thanking me. Thank you. Thank you both so much.
True, actually. Yeah, thank you. It's been good. It's been good.
And I think there's definitely some collaborative work we can do, Jay. 100%.
Yes. I'd love it. I'm following you already. I signed up to your newsletter. And I'm following you on Insta. I'll send you a message. I was going to ask you if you're doing all your stuff, so we'll be in touch. Definitely, yeah. I'll be in touch.
Yeah, Harry, if it's okay, I will pass Jay your number. So yeah, I'll give Jay your number. She's a wonderful person. Like from the moment I've met her, she just radiates so much positivity. There's been so many times where I've just felt so down. I thought I don't even know if I can, have the motivation to do this podcast. And she's always positive and saying, keep going, sis. And she always knows the right things to say. So I thank you for putting up with me, basically, babes.
I don't be silly. You're cool, man. Listen, it's so funny, Perry. I haven't even known you that long, is it?
Nope. April.
Not that long. We just met in a restaurant. I was in a restaurant with my friend. She was sat there by herself and I was just chatting to her.
I was early. So that was some Codeswitching. So I don't like to be late because that's a negative stereotype. I was early.
She was well aimed.
I don't know if what they say. To be early is to be on time. To be late is to be to be early is to be on time. Be on time is to be late.
Is to be late.
Late is to be forgotten.
Yeah. But Jay's laughing because she knows
all of this stuff and I'm always late.
More times.
I get up early and I'm still late. I don't know. I can't help it.
You spin around a lot. You're a typical Cancerian. But, I spent more time speaking to Jay and another lady on the table that she was with. And now we all three of us have become friends. Then I did the people that I went out for dinner with. They just had so much energy. I just kept disappearing and just going outside to talk to them.
Good souls recognize good souls. I like Perry, 100%, isn't it, Perry? Good souls recognize good souls.
Yeah, I told you he's amazing, isn't it? He's got such a lot of energy that just because I was quite tired when I got on this podcast, but I'm suddenly filled with so much energy. And I think that's come from what Perry gives out and what he projects. So
we're absorbing.
Thank you guys so much.
And I came from this morning, I was doing a bike ride with the kids, and then literally 2 hours on the podcast. Now I've got to go quickly buy a shirt to go do a photo shoot, and then from straight after the photo shoot, it's London Fashion Week. So I'm going to one after party in Marble Arch, so I've got to travel to Marble Arch.
Oh, okay. Just go. So it's even more so now. I appreciate you taking the 2 hours out of your day to sit down and give us the benefit of your experience. So thank you guys.
I like to add value to people's platforms, in any way I can.
You add value anywhere you go. That's a fact. You add value anywhere you go.
Just sprinkling value.
I do think you're very confident, but I still don't think you see the power. I don't think you still don't see the power in yourself. But you're a very powerful, inspirational young man. And thank you so much. And Jay, you're just amazing. You're my friend.
Thank you.
You're my friend, so you're amazing. All my friends are amazing. I only have amazing friends. If they're not amazing, they won't be my friends for very long. So all my friends are very special people, and thank you for coming on because I know you was a bit nervous about it. But to be honest, this is along with the boundaries one where I did it with 2 of my friends. I've actually forgot I was being recorded after about 5 minutes this time. I actually forgot. So that's testament to the engagement and the dynamic of the three of us. So definitely we'll be inviting you both to come back on again. So, thank you so much. So listeners.
Thank you. So yeah, appreciate it. And Perry, I will be in touch. All right?
He's amazing, isn't he?
Definitely.
Yeah. He's amazing. So for the listeners, guys, I almost forgot you were there because this conversation became very intimate, but I hope you've taken something away. And maybe like what Perry and Jay have both said, use code switching as a skill. So if you know the code, then maybe you can cheat the system. So I think instead of maybe looking at it as a way of surviving, we can look at it as a way of combating the system that maybe is not designed for particular people. But code switching is a very good way to navigate that and to actually get where you need to be. And like Perry said, that code switching, you can do what you like. You can come to work in shorts and a t-shirt when you own the company or when you've got high enough. So we don't have to code switch forever, and only what we're comfortable with. And guys, we all do it. So I hope you've taken something away, and all of you guys will now know what code switching is. I like to try to introduce things to the podcast that gets people thinking in a different way. Too much code switching, have a look out for the burnout and losing yourself a little bit. But other than that, I think code switching is a great way to navigate the system that we're in. So thank you guys for listening. Jay, thank you. Perry, once again, thank you. And I'll be back next time on Tap, where we'll be having a look at EUPD, the first of looking at mental health in focus. So I'll be speaking with a another very inspiring woman, and we'll be taking a look at personality disorders, because personality disorders, a lot of people are actually navigating personality disorders, and not a lot of people actually understand what it is. So next time out, we'll be having a look at personality disorders. But thank you guys so much for listening today, and I'll catch you next time on Tap. Bye guys.
Take care, guys. See you.
Bye.
Bye.